To me, I'm not going to run just because of, you know, the pundits or anything else like that. The closer you get to something like that, the more you realize, and I say this only half jokingly, that you have to be crazy to want to be president. And anyone who's seen the pictures of this president or any of the former presidents can see the before and after. No matter how fit, no matter how young they are, they age pretty rapidly when you look at their hair and everything else involved with it.
Keep that in mind, Mr. Walker. The final vote had not even been counted from the midterms, and there was already a groundswell working. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker had survived another challenge and had proven he was the right man to follow as a favorite for the Republican presidential nomination for 2016. Of course, not everyone agrees, and some would like to question how it got this far in the first place. Welcome to MidPoint. She is the managing editor of the Federalist and author of the recent article, Winning Re-Election Doesn't Mean Scott Walker is Ready for 2016, Joy Pullmann. Joy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Joy, let me quote exactly what you said in the second paragraph of this article, and I want you to explain a little bit of this because it was the best part of it. This born and raised Wisconsin farm girl has watched Walker closely. He's been a welcome change compared to his predecessor, Jim Doyle, but Oscar the Grouch would have improved upon Doyle. Hell, Pee Wee Herman would have. Not a Scott Walker fan, are we, Joy?
Well, actually, I'm kind of a mild Scott Walker fan. It's hard to kind of write an article like this where you're trying to criticize someone but not completely put them into the trash bin. So I think my basic takeaway with the article is that, okay, he's got some good raw material here. He shows some promise, but I think he's got a lot more work to do. And what I saw after the election, this last election night, and a bunch of people just jumping right on the Walker bandwagon, and I thought, if you knew a little more, what I think it would be appropriate to say to Governor Walker is, okay, good start, and you've got some more work to do.
Why has he then gotten this groundswell of support? Because even as you point out, many others have. He's done a lot of promising, has not followed through on some things, certainly is not a friend of the unions, and not only that, you made a great point. Mary Burke was a very weak candidate, and he struggled.
Extremely weak. I mean, she had almost no electoral experience. Her experience was on the Madison school board. And I don't diss school board work, but it's really not a typical prep work for a statewide position like governor. So as I point out in the article, if Governor Walker is going to, say, face Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, or even any other Democratic nominee in 2016, it's going to be nothing like facing, you know, an executive who has a kind of dubious background and basically no experience campaigning for even a statewide, let alone national election.
All right, so let's get down to the core question then again. Why are people calling him an inevitability in some ways? Is it just because he's a young, good-looking guy, new face of the Republican Party? What is it?
I don't think it's really the union so much as it is a triumph story. You know, so the GOP obviously has been on hard times for the past, well, the entire Obama era, and I think it was even on hard times at the end of the George Bush era. It's pretty clear. So it's been a really long time that folks on the right hadn't had much to be really excited about. So here comes a true success story, a moderate fella from, you know, average behaving, you know, looking sort of guy from the Midwest, who was able to basically face a serious union onslaught, and he triumphed. And not only did he just eke by, but he really won a pretty significant re-election victory here. So again, who doesn't love a good, happy story, especially after months and months of feeling sad, and not only months, but like, I mean, I would say more than a decade of feeling pretty dejected as conservatives.
I got about a minute left, and we're going to break, come back and talk some education here. But I think what you said there is very true, and expound on that, if you will, that he's an average guy. Maybe he hasn't said anything too foolish at this point, because let's be very honest, even Republicans would tell you that some people who identify as Republicans really excel at shooting themselves in the foot and shooting off their mouth when they really have very little to say behind it. They've had that problem.
Well, it's true, but I think it's really not fair to say that as a Republican you're successful if you cannot be an idiot, right? Okay, so Scott Walker can clear that bar, that's good, but I don't really think that's a criteria, again, for being a national leader. So it's really sad that we're at the point at which that seems to make somebody, I mean, that seems to put someone in that mold. So my parents campaigned for Governor Walker, and my siblings did too, and so I'd see him on campaign stops. He'd be wearing lumberjack shirts and jeans, you know, not the suits and so forth. So I think he's trying to cultivate the image of just an average guy, you know, who happened to be elected to statewide office and also hated by every union in the country.
Well, I tell you what, Joy, we're going to give you a few minutes in a break. We're going to let you take care of that future voter right there who obviously wants to get involved in the conversation. We may let them a little bit later on, but hang tight. Joy Pullmann returns after the break. We dig into another facet of Scott Walker in the upcoming election, a little issue known as Common Core. And later on this hour, Mitt Romney weighs in as part of the Sunday Showdown. Mitt Romney keeps telling people that he is not going to be a candidate for president, and he sounds like one every single time he talks. Stick around. We're back right here on MidPoint.